interview here series of the channel. We are here with Emma. She just made 1 year, just over 1 year in the company. So it was the perfect occasion to interview her and knowing a bit more about her expectations, how has it gone, how is she doing, and so on.
1 year and 1 month, actually. Right about, I started in the company in December 2024, so more or less 1 year and 1 month. So it's been very nice. It's been, I think they say, a hell of a ride here or something like that. Initially there was a new country. It was, a new country outside of home. And it was difficult, but I have to say that I have learned a lot. And it has ended up being a very nice experience.
Okay, but let's not jump ahead. First of all, let's begin with the proper beginning. What stood out for you of the company, and why did you decide? Well, no. You tell. Where were you when you saw the offer, the vacancy, and you decided to apply?
Well, I had recently finished some of my education. I was doing a master's, and then I was willing to open my horizons and learn a little bit more, especially about my goal was to work in neuropsychology or social psychology, but I didn't really have a clear thing in mind. And one of the things that stood out from the offer was that this company was more or less touching different areas of psychology, so it wouldn't be close to only one kind of approach, and that's the thing that stood out the most for me.
Mm-hmm. And one of the important bits is that she was in Madrid. So she was recruited in Madrid, and then she came. During that stage, since you applied and you did the recruitment process, how did it go? Anything to highlight in all that?
Well, the thing to highlight is that it wasn't easy. It was a very complicated process, especially with health professions, or professions in healthcare, convalidations and all the visa process. It's a bit more complicated than maybe with other kind of professions, just because of the specificity it has. And perhaps if I had been a data analyst, it would have been easier. But they are highly regulated professions, so that wasn't easy. Also, it was quite long, not the application process itself, but the getting all the paperwork done and everything. And it was also a learning curve.
Yeah, well, it's worth saying that it's a thorough process to ensure the safety of future patients, in healthcare in general. So how has it been, or what has been your learning curve since you arrived? What were the expectations when you arrived, and how did they evolve and along the way? Let's begin with that.
Well, I think from previous work experiences I had before, I expected to have to win responsibility and kind of, well, responsibility a bit more gradually. I think one of the good things about this job is that from the beginning I was having tasks to do and things that were kind of my responsibility to get done, and that was nice because it wasn't just like a lot of theory and you see how other people do things. No, it was come on, you will learn also by doing things, and I think that was very nice because that's the best way to learn and to know how to do a job and know how to solve problems in the future. So I believe that was one of the things I didn't expect, and that was nice. And also the fact that it's a small team, but also a team that has a lot of communication, and those are things I didn't expect.
Indeed, we are small still. That's why there is only one microphone for both of us. And just in case you are wondering, no, there is no prepping. There has been no prepping in all this, so it's coming along the way. The most difficult thing in that stage, since you arrived here and during your first weeks in the job, because it is right that it was like a push, like, okay, I know that you know a lot, now prove it and do things on your own, because by the end of the day there are lessons that you can't teach. You need to experience and tweak along the way and improving processes. But yeah, what were the biggest challenges and mistakes?
Well, the biggest challenges actually were the fact of having to drive on the other side and the hours of light. I moved in December, January, so basically there was no light and I wasn't used to that, so that was very challenging. But related only to the job, I would say the fact that it was a lot of information and a lot of information regarding UK regulations and different ways of doing things between one country and the other one. That was a kind of like an added difficulty to the job, because if I had started a very similar job in Spain, I would have already known by heart many of the regulations and many of the ways of doing things. But like the neo rehab pathways or things like that. So that was something that definitely I also had to like study a little bit on my own and like kind of like learn how those things go around here. What else did you ask me? I forgot.
Challenges and mistakes that you made.
Mistakes that I made. I don't know if I made any mistake.
Well, I must say that I'm her line manager, so it's a bit difficult position for her. But no, this, by the end of the day, this is a statement for other people watching what is your day-to-day life at work, what is differential from Clement Mind to any other healthcare provider, so people can know a bit about your job and about the company. So, never better said, there are no right or wrong answers.
It's just I've done many mistakes in general, like not all maybe related to the work itself, but maybe to I don't know, thinking something's gonna take less time than it will take and having to stay a little bit longer, or maybe not planning maybe a certain intervention or thing from before so thoroughly, and maybe then having to kind of correct myself along the way, if that makes sense. That's something that I think sometimes has happened to me, just initially when you're not so familiarized with a technique or an intervention itself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are you in better position now?
Yeah. Much better. Yeah.
Good to know. So you came, although you were already qualified there in Spain, because of Brexit, you had to come as a trainee, and eventually we did the conversion of your qualifications here with the HCPC. How has it been doing the conversion?
I want to say traumatic. I don't know if that's the word. Definitely, it's very close to the word. I've had many difficulties with it. I think the process for some other people is a bit smoother, but they were just taking very long to reply. Then they would ask for some extra information, and then you would provide the extra information, and you would be waiting for an answer, and they wouldn't give an answer, so you would send another email and another email to get your answer about whatever part of the process, and that would not happen. I remember I submitted my paperwork in January, the 3rd of January, and I didn't receive an answer or any kind of information apart from asking for more things from me until October. So it was a very long process, which definitely impacted my work here, because it's one thing to worry about, and also I was already qualified in Spain, and coming here as a trainee, well, it's not ideal.
But eventually you succeeded, and one day you saw your name there on the website. Well, I must say, before that, and selling a bit the product, one day you received the email, you've been approved, but first you need to pay this, because that's the in exchange of all those regulations and ensuring the population is safe from having a psychologist as opposed to a mentor, coach, whatever, is that we have to pay all those regulations. So you have to pay that fee, and then one day you see your name there in the website. And how did it feel? What was crossing your mind in that moment?
It didn't feel real. I thought I was dreaming or something. It had been such a long time, and I was already losing hope. I have to say, I think we were all losing hope in the company because it was taking so extremely long. But yeah, it didn't really feel real. I remember I was at home, and I was with my mother and my sister, and I was just like, look at this. I was like, this is not happening. But it was happening. Yeah. And then I paid, and then that's it. I paid many things. I paid in at the beginning, and I paid more when I received that email. Yeah, it wasn't cheap.
Well, but the bottom line is that you got it, and now how your work has evolved since then, from being a trainee to now as a qualified.
Well, it has changed in the sense of I have more responsibility now, like my clinical decisions are mine. Obviously, to get a good standard of practice, you always need to get some external supervision. Or if I was to have any doubts, I would always like to consult it with other qualified psychologists, just because, I know I'm not like nobody, no psychologist has the absolute real truth, and knowing or learning from other people's perspectives or point of views is always good, and I think it's a good practice. But basically, yeah, my clinical decisions in the end are mine, and I have a bit more responsibility. I would maybe now I would be the one participating in mental capacity assessments, or taking some other more maybe
Care planning.
But maybe decisions that have a bit more of a importance farther from just the clinical part or the therapy part, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. And the only thing that I add is not only about the point of view, it's about checking with other people gives you knowledge. By the end of the day, it's impossible to know everything. So everyone is specialized in one piece in particular, and eventually the good thing of working in a team is that you can combine everyone. So how the future looks for you, considering that you've already been 1 year, you pull through the most challenging part. What is ahead of you? Where do you want to get, to do, and what's in your horizon, let's say?
I think my future looks interesting. I think this period for me now is surprisingly, because I didn't expect it, given that last year already it was like a lot of growth and new things and learning about a different culture, different way of doing things, everything. This year also apparently is going to bring me a lot of new learning and new
Sorry, because I just realized that I messed up. First, you should describe what have you been doing during this year properly. What the 2 places that you've been performing as neuropsychology or psychologist specialized in neuropsychology, and the talking therapy as such. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so one of the areas in which obviously I have grown a lot would be the neuropsychology part of psychology. I have learned a lot of that. We work with individuals with brain injuries and other neurological conditions, and I have been supervising the cognitive rehabilitation part of it, sometimes even getting a bit more involved in it too, the assessment part of these neurological conditions and the cognitive state of the individual, and also the talking therapy part for this kind of population in particular, which I already had experience with, but obviously the more time you are in a job, the more experience you have, because there's no 2 people that are the same in terms of patients or service users. And I've also, in the one-to-one talking therapy part, with ABM psychology, I've been learning a lot more about children and adolescent psychology. I already had experience, especially with adolescents, but that has been more or less the population I have worked with the most this year. So that also has been a learning curve for me, because I've been able to see different presentations or disorders, or depends on the case, that I hadn't seen before. So that has been nice. That's what I've learned the most about this year.
Okay.
This past year.
Nice. Thank you. Now we are prepared for that bit. So what is the future looking like?
Yeah. So in the future, there's going to be not a shift, but there's going to be some new projects regarding especially autism assessments, diagnosis, ADHD, and other neurodevelopmental disorders and conditions, which is something that I believe it's very interesting. I've always loved working with younger people. So.
Can you land the concept? Because probably many people won't know what are you talking about, and on the other hand is still some social conditioning in that regard. So it's normally known as the neurodivergence.
Neurodivergence.
So can you tell us a bit more about that?
About neurodivergence itself, or?
What you were saying, but from the neurodivergence point of view. So landing what you were talking to the viewer point of view, let's say.
Yeah, so basically neurodivergence is a very broad concept. There are many things that fit into that neurodivergence, but it is true that it has been developmental differences that have been quite neglected in the healthcare in general, given the fact of not really knowing what they are, the stigma around them and everything. And our goal is to be able to provide a service that supports with assessment and diagnosis of these neurodivergences, so that individuals themselves can know, okay, these are my strengths, this is what's difficult for me, and this is the help I need in order to maybe in the future get resources to have those needs covered, or whatever. In terms of autism, which is also a very broad spectrum, but also ADHD, which are, I would say, those are the most common neurodivergences, or the ones that can need quite a lot more support in some terms, but also I don't know, any others, like, yeah.
Okay. Anything else to say? Any other last things?
No, I'm just excited for what's coming next, and let's hope it's all good.
Thank you very much.